Hi, today we're going to talk about how to write formulas and name type 1 ionic bonds. And we know that a compound is a type 1 ionic bond by looking at the periodic table. And if the cation or the metal comes from this area of the periodic table, this element, or this element, we know that it is going to form a type 1 ionic bond. Sodium, for example, is the symbol Na, and I know by looking at this periodic table that this group right here, I know that that group loses 1 electron, and sodium is in that group, so I know sodium is going to lose 1 electron. Oxygen looks like this, and when I look at the periodic table, I see oxygen right here, and I know that that group gains 2 electrons. So it has a -2 charge. So if sodium is losing 1 and oxygen is gaining 2, we know that +1 and -2 does not equal 0. So I know I need an extra sodium. So then I have a +2 charge to go with the -2 charge. So when I write the formula, I know I have 2 sodiums and 1 oxygen. Let's try potassium chloride. When we look at the periodic table, we see potassium right here. And so we know that since it's in the same group as sodium, this first row, that potassium is going to lose 1 electron. When I look at chlorine, chlorine's right here, and this group gains 1 electron. So I'll give chlorine a -1 charge. So if potassium is losing 1 and chlorine is gaining 1, that equals 0. So I can just make the formula KCl. Let's try aluminum bromide. Aluminum symbol looks like this. And when we look at the periodic table, we see it right here. And aluminum always loses 3 electrons. So we can do a +3. Bromine, when we look at the periodic table, it's right here under chlorine. So it gains 1 electron. So if aluminum is losing 3 and bromine is gaining 1, we need 2 more bromines for a total of -3 to go with this +3, so it equals 0. So when we write our formula, we have 1 aluminum and 3 bromines. When we do aluminum sulfide, again, we know aluminum loses 3, and we can look back to the periodic table and find sulfur. Sulfur is in the same group as oxygen, so it gains 2 electrons. So we can do sulfur with a -2. We have a +3 and a -2. We know that doesn't equal 0 yet. So if we add another aluminum, that gives us a +6 charge total. So I need to add 2 more sulfurs. So I have a -6 to go with my +6. We know that equals 0 now. So when I write my formula, I have 1, 2 aluminums and 1, 2, 3 sulfurs. When we do calcium, we can look at the periodic table and see calcium is right here. This row loses 2 electrons. So we can do the charge for calcium is +2. And when we look at the periodic table, we find nitrogen. Nitrogen gains 3. So if we have a a plus 2 and a minus 3, that doesn't equal 0 yet. So we'll have to do another calcium for a plus 4, and then another calcium for a total of plus 6, and then we will add another nitrogen for a total of negative 6. So plus 6 minus 6, now that equals 0. And I can write my formula as calcium. I have 1, 2, 3 calciums and 1, 2 nitrogens. Now, when we say the name of the compound, we use the cation's name, sodium, and then we use sulfur, except for we change the end to "ide," so it's sulfide. Here we have magnesium. So again, the name, just use magnesium. And then fluorine, we change the ending to "ide." Fluoride. Let me know if you have questions.